Glad to have you back, and it's time for our next discussion. The World Bank has once again raised the alarm over Nigeria's rising debt stock.
Now, this time they are particularly concerned about state governments borrowing and their inability to service loans due to revenue shortfalls.
Well, the report shows that the fiscal deficit of states increased significantly from an estimated 0.2% of GDP in 2014 to 1% in 2015 and 2016, where the total state debt increased from 2.4% in 2014 to 4% of GDP by the end of last year. And we have in the studio with us to look at this developing story, Sheson Okwade in the studio. Of course, he's a public affairs commentator. Good morning to you, and thank you for joining us on the show.
Good morning, President.
Now, which should be the concern of everyone in the country, that the state governments are borrowing or that they are not even expending the money is borrowed on capital projects?
The issue on ground is, we've said it over time, some of the problems this state government are creating for themselves, which metamorphose into the problem the federal government are actually facing. You don't go ahead to borrow money to start paying salary. That's the fundamental of it. That gives you an eye clue that you have a burden you need to shed off. The fundamental thing of every organization is to be able to pay the salary of your staff freely. But situation where you have to go and borrow money to pay the salary of your staff, ask me question, what are they doing? That company, that company, if it's a company, has collapsed. It has gone to liquidation. You should borrow money to do business or capital infrastructure and not to pay salary. So the fundamental problem where we are having is most of the state government we have today employ people to settle them for what they have actually contributed to them being governor, and in nutshell, not to work. And this is given a critical problem which they are unable to manage. This is the fundamental of our problem. If you cannot pay salary, where can you get money to do infrastructure? This is the basis where every state governor has to face. Take, for example, Lagos State. Have you heard them owe salary? They've actually been paying as a multinational will pay. They pay to date. And they have other infrastructure work going on. So even when you are borrowing and you are able to take care of your staff salary, not out of the money you are borrowing, but from other revenue you are able to generate, then the state will be very valuable. And that is the problem where we have the alarming rise that our debt profile keep increasing. Even if the federal government is doing any wonderful work, the state government, as we speak, is dragging it back. And like we keep saying, it's not bad enough to collapse those states and let them consolidate to those states that are viable to pay the money. There is no pride in you governing a state and you are borrowing money to pay company to pay salary. I don't think there's any company today that will go ahead and borrow money to pay their staff salary. The first thing they need to do is probably fire some of the management staffs. From there, they go to the junior staffs and they reduce their staff strength. And with that, they will be able to consolidate. So that once you can able to take care of that, then you can move to capital project for people to enjoy.
All right, now Nigeria plunged into a recession. And this is not the first time we're having economic crisis. We remember the world economic meltdown in 2008. Now, what's the difference between all of those issues that time and now that state governments have to resort to bailout funds and sort kind of borrowings that they can't consistently, they have issues with paying salaries?
The fact remains that when we have economic meltdown in 2008, there is sincerity on the part of the government. Now I can tell you that state government does not even have, most of them don't know the reason why they are in governance. They feel to be in governance is just to be there and to be heard as governors. For me, to lead a state is a serious business, and you have to be very creative. We'll give it to the state that are doing it right. I reside in Lagos, and I will always give it to, I start from Ashiwaju, down to Fashola, and today Ambode is doing it. You cannot hear a Lagos state government official complain of salary And you and I see the infrastructure they're actually putting in place. Where are these things coming up? In 2008, when there was meltdown, we all realized that Asiwaju was freezed up. And he was able to brace up and look for other means of, you know, getting revenue. That was when the likes of Tunde Fowler came on board to give a drive to the tax. All the Lagosians were crying then. They want to kill us with tax. They want to kill us with that. For Christ's sake, he was able to drive the economy with that. Just last year, the tax revenue from South Africa was about 24 trillion. Which is more than Nigeria budget. That is a revenue from tax. You discover that most of these governors are not looking other side. Everybody is still relying on the revenue from the federal government. And the federal government is not getting the money. So when I don't have anything, I don't have anything to give to you. But I don't think Lagos State will complain today, and some other states that are doing it right, that they are awaiting federal government, you know, funding to make their states work. And
talking about awaiting federal government's funding again, how sad were you really as an economic analyst when you heard last week maybe that the federal government plans to give about 28 billion naira to 35 states of the federation for them to be able to pay salaries and meet other needs?
The truth of the matter is government is just trying to probably, let me say, cover the shame of, you know, what we are rolling now is everybody's APC. Don't let them start making noise of what is not. They don't need it. You can't afford to bear this cost. Downsize. Government, the federal government has their burden on their own that they have to battle with. When we enter recession, they promised that they are going to go borrowing. They went ahead, and the basis of that borrowing is for capital infrastructures. Some of these things are not in place. Our roads are not there. Power sector is not functioning. Health sector is not functioning. All things are not there. And a state is coming to compound your problem again. And all you could do is just to chicken out. As far as I'm concerned, federal government, see, when you have pampered a child to a level and he refuses to walk, leave him. He will wake up when he sees that all his other counterparts are moving. As far as I'm concerned, it's not all the states that are clamoring. In fact, they decided to give all other states so that it won't look as if, because for Christ's sake, fine, Lagos State need the money, but they are internally generating the revenue.
Because each state
Lagos is the only state
that won't get. That's
who said we don't want, we don't need it.
For Christ's sake, what magic are they doing that you cannot learn?
800 million naira per state.
What will 800 million naira do in a state? For Christ's sake. All you are doing to do is to salvage the situation. I'm telling you that if you downsize, those people that you have sent them back home, they are really not doing pretty anything. They go ahead and create something for themselves. That's why I said what Obasanjo did to Asiwaju then was like a problem. But it's what has actually gave rise to why Lagos State can stand out. Out of 36 states, just Lagos State is telling you, I don't want. So I think the federal government should just look for the same way. But if they should do that, the next thing you hear is that Buhari wants to, they don't like us. He wants to kill us. But then that was done to Asiwaju, and Lagos State was able to go back to the drawing board. There are individuals that these states can call upon. You have resources that you can, not even crude oil, that they can venture into. Lagos State does not have any natural resources, and today they are salvaging situation. They are doing those things because between you and I, we have a lot of money we can generate from taxes, from levies.
All right, we'll come back to this, Sheson. Let's put you on hold. Let's go on a break a little bit, and then we'll come back to continue on this topic. Stay with us. Right, if you're just joining us, you're watching TVC Breakfast, and on this segment, we've been talking about the concerns about the rising debt profile or debt stock of Nigeria. And the World Bank and IMF have come to say that a lot of states in Nigeria are owing so much debt, and it is rising from the reports and statistics we're getting together. And that's what we've been talking about with Sheson Okunade with us in the studio. Now, Sheson, the issue, you mentioned the issue of creativity on the part of state government earlier on. Is that really where to go when we talk about the challenges with governments not being able to pay salaries and all of that? Is it the bane of of the governors not being creative as to how to generate revenue for themselves?
Let me tell you, the basis of even recruiting people on board. To me, so many states are not getting it right. A governor will not do the work all alone. Let me tell you, Ambody is not the one doing bulk of the work. He's at the end of affairs. You need to get guys that can think fast to work around you. Let me give you this for Lagos State that we always use as the bedrock because they are the one that is excluded from this. Have young, tappy guys. When you call young, guys that actually knows what they're doing. And they, day by day, give advice to the governor on things to do. I'm not actually bringing down some of all these other states that they are not having, but if the basis of bringing people on board is because they supported you during the election, or is the son or daughter of one of the big stalwarts, then there is problem. But for Christ's sake, if you are able to get individuals who have a stake, who have, you see, some of them have certificate they have to protect. Some of them have a name to make. That is why they have to, we have to give our best to make this government work. And this, if it can be transformed to other states, for Christ's sake, you will see. So the first area you need to work on, every state governor needs to work on, is to have the right personnel.
But then, doesn't it seem to you that the problem or the challenge facing any government, because it's in continuum, is the challenge of trying to placate or please the populace, trying to please the people? Because most of the time you've heard in the past where state governors would bring up a policy to better a particular sector, maybe for example education, and then they would experience a backlash from the people. For example, what Kaduna State Governor is facing right now from the public and National Union of Teachers. So sometimes don't you think that they want to do the right thing, but maybe because it would have a negative impact in the short run on the people, somehow they could be pressured to stop it? The
truth of the matter is, you should, as a leader, you are subject to some of those things. But the bottom line is, have you considered what you want to do on the long run? If you consider everything on short run, the same set of people that are castigating you now will castigate you on the long run. If the decision, I sat down to review what the Kaduna State Governor is trying to do. First and foremost, we are talking of education. And a teacher, we read about what happened in Edo State then, when a teacher cannot even address the populace. And what are we bringing out? We are going to bring out students that will not be able to represent us, to stand out. What stops you? Some of those guys got in place probably because they know someone at the end of affair, but they are not qualified. And the result we are getting from this is failure day by day. Because if you have a good teacher that is nurturing, most of us today, we are product of those our teachers and our leaders. But do we have those teachers that taught us then that are still in the system? They are disciplinarians. These days, you see teachers saying, let it just be. I know those days in school, they beat the hell out of us. And we are not there today. Today, we are better off for it.
So back to the economy, don't you think that could be some of the challenges these state governments are facing to make their states to be independent?
For me, you need to just put a policy in place that will benefit on the long run. People will cry for a while. Look at it when Obasanjo did that to Asiwaju. He came up with people who are not paying taxes. And he said, I'm going to do this. And those periods, they were alarming him. You are putting us under pressure. Where is the money to pay the tax? True. Where is this? Where is that? On the long run today, the same set of people that were complaining are actually the ones celebrating Asiwaju. But if he has it to their cry then, between you and I today, Lagos State will be among, in fact, it will be the whole 36 states. So for me, it's for you to sit down, analyze issue on the long run. People are bound to react for the short term. But if the policy you are putting in place is not self-centered, is something that will benefit everybody on the long run, I can ask you, the people that condemn you will celebrate you. People that condemned Lagos State initially, that they are actually fusing things out of us, are the ones that are saying the place to be is Lagos State.
All right. Now, state governments have, or even governments generally have complained of not having the funds to carry out infrastructural development and capital projects and all of that. It is obvious. We know where we stand when it comes to the issue of recession and the money is available to government. But the point is, considering all of those, the private sector has a very great role to play in here. What role does the private sector play or have to play in a situation where the government cannot handle some of these projects and bringing them in to handle them on behalf of the government and giving them some kind of concession?
You see, the problem I have with that is most private sector are willing to offer assistance. But you know, we play politics with some of these things. Okay. And that's why you see some of them backing out. The fundamental of our problem in the nation that we keep talking about is corruption. And until we attack that, no private sector want to waste its money the way government is wasting their money. It's not hidden. I have a contract of 5 million to execute. And you want me to escalate such contract to about 15 million? No private sector, because he knows what actually he went through to raise that 5 million. I've seen in time past, companies will want to like, let's fix this road. We are here as part of our CSR. And you see whether the local government or anybody will tell you, we have a due diligence process of procuring due process of doing this thing. And they go, okay, go ahead with your due process. I am going to call my contractor to value this project. And the private sector company will say, we can get this thing done for 10 million. And government is telling you it's going to be for 30 million. My money to give you 30 million of what I know can be 10 million, definitely I will not be encouraged to do that. So even in the government sector, we need to do the right thing, and people should know it is not about me, it's about what everybody will benefit. So if I'm able to give you what you are supposed to do at the right cost, as many people that benefit from that thing the private sector has done is to the glory of the government.
And then how conducive really have state governments made their states to be for private investment when you look at it really? Have they looked at how to maybe give some free land, free lease of land for a few years, you know, looking at options that would attract even foreign investors into their states and not just Lagos, most usually Lagos and maybe the neighboring state, Ogun State?
The truth of the matter is still go back to what I've just said. The bottom line is people will not attract investors because of their personal gain. It's when you think on the long run of some things to do. So some of the states are not really enabling, but we hear on papers and the air that you can come make some of those investments. But between you and I, it's not business as what they give it to us to do. Until we have individuals, the civil servants, everybody that needs to do what they need to do it right. When we have the cost of things, well, if you want to do anything, but not in a very marginal way. If a company is saying, I want to do this thing, and the cost from my contractor is 10 million, for Christ's sake, if your contractor is giving 12 million, not a bad deal, you know, it's negotiation power. But situation where a contract I want to give with my money of 10 million, you are saying you're going to do it for 30 million. For Christ's sake, I won't give down the money.
Something is wrong.
I won't give down the money. And that's where we're having the gap for the private sector to participate in some of the things to support the government.
All right. Sheson Okunade, public affairs commentator, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you very much. You're welcome. Right.